Lali-ho everyone, this is Julia. During the 67th letter from Producer Live, we were shown an amazing launch trailer for Endwalker. In this video, I would like to go through the trailer to break it down and analyze what we see scene by scene, so there will be a lot of posing and commentary. Please keep in mind that this is not a reaction video, but if you'd like to see my reaction to the trailer, there's a link in the description. I don't think there's a need to mention this at this point, but just in case, this video contains spoilers for those who haven't finished the main scenario quests. And there will be some speculation around some of the vague info dumped in this trailer. You may even think, hey Julia, you're reading too much into this, and yes, that's the point of the video anyway. Watch at your own risk and get your tinfoil hats. So without further ado, let's get to it.
And so you venture forth unto the unknown. A fate beyond the horizon that cannot be divined. A future undefined and in flux.
Have a safe journey, and please be careful.
The trailer starts in Limsa Lominsa with Emmett Selk's narration, and he narrates quite a bit for the rest of the trailer as well. He says, "And so you venture forth onto the unknown, a fate beyond the horizon that cannot be divined, a future undefined and in flux." From the very beginning, I would like to get my tinfoil hat and claim that this actually belongs to the end of Endwalker, when we finally finish the story of the Hydaelyn and Zodiac saga and go into the unknown, which will be the beginning of a new story from 6.1 onward. I might be entirely wrong, but hey, a theory is a theory. This is the ship that we most probably use to go to Old Sharlayan. And while in this scene, if we go back a few seconds, we see some familiar characters. These are Milala from the Rogue questline on the left and Momozigo from the Samurai questline on the right. These might be in the trailer just to add some flavor, but it was also mentioned by either Yoshi or Ishikawa, I seriously do not remember, but one of them said that the job quest NPCs may appear in some shape or form during the MSQ.
That which lives is destined to die. Love leads to loss. Every beginning has an end. Treasure every moment, every step of your descent. And there, in the depths where souls and stars rest, find your truth.
Here we see Amarot in the final days with some Amaranthines running. Their only difference from the Amaranthines we saw in Shadowbringers is that these do not have their hoods on, which adds a bit of a physical trait to them, making them look different from one another. If I had to guess, I would say that this is somewhere in Thavnair, judging by the force type and the barely visible colorful buildings. And the creatures attacking the area, which are Terminus idolizers, are the same ones over Thavnair as shown in the main trailer for the expansion. It doesn't necessarily mean that these creatures cannot be seen anywhere else, but it's a connection nonetheless. This is again Thavnair, as we see the statue in one of the screenshots under the New Dungeons category on the official Endwalker website. So this one, along with the previous point, look like they were taken from a yet unnamed dungeon in Thavnair, might even be from the first cutscene you see as you enter it. Emmett's line here is extremely important. He says, "Treasure every moment, every step of your descent. There in the depths where souls and stars rest, find your truth." Bear with me here, but at some point we may be going to the underworld, or the Ethereal Sea as it's mostly known as. And this may, in some shape or form, be connected to the Anti-Tower dungeon that was introduced back in Heavensward patch 3.2. Not only because the dungeon has an area called Where Souls Rest, but also because of the significance of the tower itself. The Anti-Tower was created by the Sharlayans to study the Ethereal Sea itself, and the swirl of the Ethereal Sea looks like what might be called starry. The choice word of descent in Emmet's line can also be significant in terms of two possibilities. It can, again, be connected to the anti-tower, if we look at the dungeon description where it states, "Yet were one blessed with her gift to brave these dangers and descend to the furthest reaches, to hear, feel, and think at the heart of this world, what would they find?" The other possibility is that this might be a reference to the new high-end raid series to be introduced in Endwalker, Pandemonium. It's worth mentioning here as a side reference that Pandemonium is the capital of hell in John Milton's epic poem Paradise Lost. If we look at its description on the Endwalker special site, it says, "Far beneath the ground upon which mortals tread, steeped in darkness deep as starless night, ancient power lies dormant, too hungry, too brutal, too monstrous. What cannot be controlled must be contained, here in Pandemonium. Dare you make the descent." Of course, this is all speculation as to what Emmet's line may mean, and we should not forget that we do not know who he is talking to. Is he talking to us, the Warrior of Light, or is it from a memory long gone, perhaps something he said to Azem? We can only wait and see.
Maybe we don't belong here, but neither do they. Not out here in the wind and the cold.
This is one of the new dungeons that was not available during the media tour. I believe we can safely assume that this is in Garlemald. And here we see some familiar faces! We see a blue-haired Garlean charging towards our dear Lucia from Heavensward, and the once part of the Popularis defector Maxima from Stormblood. But it doesn't end there. Behind these two, we also see who are presumably Serena and Sado from the Azem Steppe questline in Stormblood, in what can be described as more weather-appropriate clothing. I would like to get this out of the way. Dev team, do not touch my children. Seriously, don't. Anyway, the twins are likely in Garlemald, judging by the fact that it looks really cold in this shot. It can be that they want to have the Garleans, but the Garleans turn them away, and they are left out in the cold, trying to figure out a way to make them accept their help, or they might be stuck somewhere in Garlemald. Also, I'm not entirely sure if those little lights around the color of their outfit have any significance. Are they thrown in a cell of sorts with a Magitech device to limit their movements? Or maybe it serves as a precautionary measure against the harsh cold of the region, or it may very well be just an ornament.
That blue will be your guide, test and proof of your conviction.
Here we see the new character in our journey, the Lady of the Light, whom we met in Shadowbringers patch 5.56 near the Silvertear Lake in Mordona.
Hear me, hear me, hear me, hear me. Darkness comes, and with it, the end. The fate of the star is in your hands.
As most of the player base agree, I do too, this is most likely Vena, the Heart of Hydaelyn, whom we learned about in patch 5.2 as shown in Anamnesis and Eider story cutscenes. Please bear in mind that during those cutscenes, Vena specifically says the following: "The form I take shall ever remain my choice." So if this is indeed her, she prefers to take the form of a hero woman with white hair and blue eyes. In the trailer she says that bloom will be your guide, test and proof of your conviction, which is instantly followed by a scene where the Warrior of Light looks at a flower which is most likely an asphodel. Even though it does not look exactly like an asphodel in real life, in mythology they are described as, and I quote, "presumably strange, pallid, ghostly flowers," which fits this image in the trailer. Why I think it's an asphodel is due to two reasons, first of which is rooted in Greek mythology. Quoting directly from Wikipedia, It's stated that in Greek legend, the asphodel is one of the most famous of the plants connected with the dead and the underworld. If we think of the underworld as the ethereal sea, this may very well be another reference to the events that may lead us there. There is also the Asphodel Meadows, which is a section of the Greek underworld where ordinary souls who lived mediocre lives remain. It's a land of neutrality, where souls need to drink from the river Lethe before entering, thus losing their identities. I am not sure if this connects to the idea of our underworld, but I thought it would be worth mentioning. The second reason why I think this flower is an asphodel is that it may be yet another reference to the Pandemonium raids, the first part of which will be called Asphodelos. However, it may be something as simple as a wild rose, and we might be going whither it blooms. But enough about the flower, let's continue.
In darkness, seek joy. Walk free and bear the light for others to follow.
This is directly from the dungeon that was available from the Mediator, the Tower of Zot. Here we can see one of the Magus sisters as a boss. I would like to theorize that we do not kill them in the dungeon and that they may come back as trial bosses later on in the expansion. This is an incredibly interesting area. It looks like somewhere connected to Hydaelyn herself, as the color and type of the crystal are the exact same as Hydaelyn's. It may be the way to approach the Mother Crystal. Whether it's a dungeon or a scenario, I cannot say, but there are clearly some characters running with us, presumably some of the Scions. It's also worth mentioning that the broken shards all around the scenery look like Hydaelyn's chains around Minfilia on Heaven's Word's patch 3.2, the Gears of Change artwork, which further solidifies the idea that this is indeed related to Hydaelyn. In the following scene, while the Lady of the Light continues talking, we see Fortunato Leveilleux, Alphinaud's and Alizé's father, along with the other forum members, about to address a crowd. What the topic might be, we do not know yet. Oh, and the Lady of the Light saying, "Walk free," is a nice touch to answers.
Your burden. You've suffered enough.
Here we see Anima, who is originally from Final Fantasy X. I admit I am not well versed in other Final Fantasy games, and the only thing I know is that the original Anima was connected to Seymour's mother, so maybe it has something to do with Zenos' mother in our case. However, Zenos' mother is said to be dead, so this seems unlikely. Nevertheless, please let me know in the comments below what kind of significance and reference Anima might have in 14. The Warrior of Light is seen clutching Azam's crystal, while someone in the background says, "Come, let me relieve you of your burden. You have suffered enough." This is a new voice, but we do not know whether she's talking to us or it's just a voiceover from another completely unrelated scene. But most importantly, where are we? The sky in the background looks very much like the sky we saw at the end of the Amorath dungeon, so there is a food for thought.
The sky burns. The final days are truly upon us.
Oh, would you look at that? An actual star shower, perhaps? How very, nice. And not terrifying at all.
Bereft of hope, and now dignity. 'Twas a grand, glorious dream we shared.
There's a small detail that caught my eye here, but it seems like someone is dissipating into ether when the creature attacks. This is, again, probably the Thavnair dungeon that I mentioned earlier in the video, considering the fact that we have our lovely trusts with us. An unfamiliar man with an unfamiliar voice, looking at the Garlean banner, says, "Bereft of hope and now dignity. It was a grand, glorious dream we shared." When I first saw this, I thought it might be Nero, due to his blonde hair. However, there are some more likely candidates as to who this character might be. My first bet is that this may be Nerva Galvus, who is Xenos' cousin and leads the 3rd Legion. He is the son of Titus, who fought against Varys, Xenos' father, in the War of Succession following Emperor Solus' death, and he was defeated. It's worth mentioning that Nerva receives financial support from House Brutus, and we can only assume that Fandaniel, using Asahi's body, might be using this connection to further his efforts to cause more conflict. My second bet is that this may be Noah van Gabranth, leader of the 4th Legion, which was in control of Dalmasca, Nagsha and Bosja. Now bear with me, I know that it's stated in the Bosjan field note that he was killed by Leon and the cast room was set ablaze, but it's also mentioned that some people think that the body might not be Noah's after all, as it was severely burned and very few people had ever seen him without his helmet. Adding the fact that the character in the trailer is wearing what looks like a variant of Law's Order gear from Bosja, this may, indeed, be Noah van Gabranth. While talking about all these Guardians, I feel the need to ask, where the heck is this guy? I know that his arc was in the World questline, but he repeatedly reminds us that he's a son of Garlemald and he will do anything to save his homeland.
Such devastation!
Can he be a wild card that they do not want to show, or will he be completely ignored? I personally hope for the first.
I won't lose them! Not a one!
Are we truly so powerless that our only choice is to flee?
We've come too far to back down now.
Going back to the integration of job questline NPCs mentioned earlier in the video, this might very well be Curious Gorge from the warrior quests. The armor looks ever so slightly different at some parts, but it's still a possibility. At this point, we can safely say that almost all the enemies we have seen so far look like the Terminus beasts that we were introduced to back in the final days of Omarot. And here we indeed see an Amoratine get caught by one of these beasts. Again, he has no hood on. Then we see the Lady of the Light walking in Amarot. This does not look like an echo vision, so either they didn't put the effect on for the trailer, or we see these scenes as part of her narration of the events. And the whole gang is here! We may be walking in the Ethereal Sea towards Hydaelyn together, but it can be an entirely different area as well, of course.
Wheresoever there is suffering and despair, you appear to fulfill your duty as defender of this star.
Now, this is another very interesting section of the trailer. Here we see Xenos standing in front of a throne, for lack of a better word, where the Warrior of Light is sitting, obviously unconscious. Did he defeat us again? Or is there a more sinister cause for our unconsciousness? Get the tinfoil hat, I'm going to tell you something. It is probably not right, but who knows, maybe it is. What if there is a part in the questline where Xenos somehow sends our soul to the Ethereal Sea and we try to get back to our body? You know, it is implied that the Echo has the capability to let you do that if you're proficient enough, so maybe there is something we can learn from Xenos after all. This place looks hauntingly beautiful, but not much to say here as there is no indication of what this place might be, other than that it looks very voidish. We have our trusts with us, so it might be a dungeon or a scenario. This is an enemy we have not seen before, but it looks very much like a dungeon boss. And these scenes just show our Warrior of Light's journey throughout the base game and the expansions.
There must be a way to restore things to the way they were. To reclaim the perfect paradise we once had.
Here it looks like we're on the moon, judging by the rock formation seen in the background. It might be Mare Lamentorum, which means Sea of Lament by the way, and we are surrounded by the Ancients of Amarot. And although I have seen some theories on the internet suggesting that these might be the actual summoned members of the Convocation interfering with and guiding our mission, I personally do not think so. They may be the Convocation members, but probably just as a memory, nothing more, and it may be something directly connected to Azem. I am, and the rest of the player base is, pretty sure that this is an image of Zodiark. However, it looks like half of him is missing. Might be a callout to how he was shattered, or how he has been only half summoned. Him being Zodiark is also further backed up by the fact that in the Japanese, French and German versions of the trailer, Fandaniel literally calls his name. Have a listen.
Zodiac. Oh, Carl Zodiac. Oh, Zodiac.
Now, unfortunately, I know none of those languages, but I asked a French friend of mine, and he provided an approximate translation of the French version that says, "Oh, great Zodiark, you who are our only chance for salvation may answer our prayers. Devour and weave lives again and again, until you can finally bring us back to those times." We will get back to this in a moment. However, there is another possibility. A very, very thin possibility that this might be a third entity that we have not yet learned much about in the story. Whatever brought the final days in the first place, bound and kept away from whole creation. This requires a huge tinfoil hat though, and I personally do not think this is the case, but it is worth throwing it out there as a theory.
I still 100% think that this is Zodiark though.
In the English version, during the image of what is presumably Zodiark, Fandaniel says, "There must be a way to restore things to the way they were, to reclaim the perfect paradise we once had." Well, this, and the things he previously said, they are quite contradictory to the way he has been acting during the last patches of Shadowbringers, where he claimed that he only wanted to destroy the world and everyone in it, along with himself. Let's refresh our memory.
Free to use my powers as I see fit, to fulfill my heart's desire. And my heart's desire is to lay this half-broken world to waste, leaving nary a fleck of dust behind!
What? Why would you want such a thing?
Because I want wretched creatures who ask such meaningless questions to die! You! And you! And you! I want you all to die! And I want to die too! Oh, yes! I want to die and take everyone with me in a paroxysm of pain and suffering!
So, what changed his perspective? Was it that he always wants to bring back the old world and was just acting to cover up the real reason behind the huge catastrophe he wished to cause? Or is he just mocking the Unsundered yet again?
It will be ours again! A world free of sorrow!
Let the curtains fall upon this, the final chapter in the tale of the stars.
all those masks remind me of the final cutscene in the Dying Gasp where we fought Hades. We might actually be contacting Emmet somehow, or see a memory connected to him. In the Japanese, French and German versions of the trailer, Fandaniel's speech continues until the end of this scene. However, in the English version, the voice changes to an unfamiliar one, saying, "It will be ours again, a world free of sorrow." Now, this might still be Fandaniel if we assume that he goes through some kind of transformation and his voice changes accordingly, or it might be someone else entirely. Emmet says, "Let the curtains fall upon this, the final chapter in the tale of the star." However, in the other languages of the trailer, it seems that an unknown voice says something else. I have been told that in the French version, the voice approximately says, "What are you planning to do? Destroy our beautiful world?" So there is a difference in localization of this scene. This may be Zodiac talking in the other versions. A little detail here, as the Warrior of Light looks up to Hydaelyn as in the world itself, we can clearly see Thavnir, Othard, and what's presumably Mericidia in the southern part.
To have you at my side, it means more to me than you know. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart. Given what lies ahead, I did not wish to leave for later that which I could do today. After all, tomorrow is never promised.
Now, I know that everyone is afraid that something might happen to Alphinaud because of his speech, as it has quite a few death flags written all over it. However, I do not think he will die. This might be his farewell to the Scions, because he probably will take his place in Sharlayan politics and become a member of the Forum. He may even take his father's place. So in short, I don't think he's dying. I think he's just leaving the Scions. However, considering the fact that he says, "Given what lies ahead, I did not wish to leave for later that which I could do today," this might be seen as he's about to do something reckless before a big, dangerous event. The other Scions, though, someone might die. I don't want any of them to get hurt, but if there's anyone to die, my bet is on Thancred or maybe Kryl, considering the fact that the letter is not even the main artwork of the expansion. Estinine and Urianger might also be likely candidates, but I somehow doubt it. And so we come to the conclusion of this video. Do you think I missed something? Did I make a wrong assumption somewhere? Or do you have any other theories regarding the points discussed here? Let me know in the comments below. If you watched till the end, I would like to give you my heartfelt thanks. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, and if you'd like to follow me, I'm also on Twitter, link in the description below. Thank you, Warriors of Light, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye!